Okay, so this is all right since you're not running Orisa. You don't have to go with the team. Usually when you run Orisa, you want to be with the team, and you'll see they have an Orisa, and that's because of orbs and stuff. And another thing you have to consider here is that if you flank as Roadhog, it's gonna be hard to get support from your teammates, especially when you drop down on point here. Because you never know what comp they might run, the enemies. Okay, nice try, at least. One small thing here, you don't have to reload as you exit because you have 4 shots, and you want to start spamming either Orisa or the shield. I'm just putting a 1.25 here, increase the playback rate. Okay, so you see a ton of enemies right here, and since you have a Winston with you and you have a Moira, as well as Lucio, but Lucio's he's on the wall, so it doesn't really matter. But you can see that the whole of your, or everyone in your team wants to engage, and it's a good flank you're doing. But you can also just go main with the hog here, with the Winston, because you need a ton of shield spam, and you can just shield spam the Orisa, break the shield, make it easy for your backline to shoot in, and also for hooks, because you can hook. Oops, you can hook and then just turn around and drop them into the pit. And it's easy to get stuck in Junkrat and his traps. Okay, this is a bit too fast. Yeah, you would also target the Junkrat as chat says, but sometimes you just end up targeting what's in front of you. And it's not... So if we go back here. I think the hook was coming out, just in the middle here, and you happen to be closer to the Orisa than to the Junkrat. I didn't really think of this, but thanks to chat, you should try and aim for the squishy as well. Right here you can use your ult, because you're gonna get your ult back really quickly anyways. And you can stagger the enemies, because you've capped the point, and as long as they are fighting, they're staggering themselves. If you use your ult here, break the trap, spam them, just be annoying to them. You're gonna end up with 20% for free. Yeah, the overextension comes from flanking alone. So I notice you don't really press tab as Roadhog. It doesn't really matter if you're Roadhog or any other hero, but you want to press tab so that you see if they switch anything. And they switched to McCree. I think it's yeah, they have a McCree, and you only have a Winston. So for example, if they end up pushing and you have a McCree against you on a long distance, he's gonna be able to headshot you. And they have a Zen as well, so if they discord and headshot you, you're gonna get farmed. And you have to think about it as you push in like this. And now you press tab. And since you're on Roadhog, these two are your like main concerns. These two people. So the Zen is gonna discord you and melt you. Like even Zen alone can deal with you, unless you hook him. And then you have to deal with the shield, and you have to deal with an enemy Roadhog. And if you think about your comp, you have a Moira, so why not play with the Moira? Because if you step away from the Moira, like go too far in, or just flank alone, she's not able to heal you unless she uses her orb or goes with you. And talk with the team, make, you know, set up walls with Mei here. You can hook and then wall. And there's a ton of team play you can do. And yeah, this ult is... I didn't mention it because this is something you learn on your own. Like, it's pretty obvious you shouldn't ult right this moment because a better opportunity would be here. This is when you should ult. So just a thing to mention here. Some things in game happen by panic or reaction, or you know, we just do mistakes sometimes, and it's not worth to nitpick exactly everything, because there's like this instant feedback, and then there's what's it called? Delayed feedback, or you know, delayed learning, or whatever it's called, that you learn from watching your VODs and so on. But if you dash in as Genji super deep and you die, that's something you learn on your own. And I usually mention it once, and if it repeats I mention again, and then yeah, that's how I do the review. But just so you know, when you watch this later, Roadhog. So let's go back here. Why are you backing off? Because when you're against the brig here, so if you want to back off and heal, you have a Mega right behind you here. If you step down, you're giving brig free space, and she can shield bash you, and then she can knock you, and you're down in the pit. And if you just keep spamming, she's gonna lose her shield, and she can't stun you. And you have to think as well that if you're running down the stairs really close to her and you're healing, she can interrupt your heal and she can kill you. You should be left clicking here as well, because your right click doesn't spread out when you're this close, and it's like it's barely the limit, you know, that the right click doesn't spread out, because it's like two shots or something, and you do a lot less damage. Good hook. You should also call out the brig on right side, and here's 84%. Anyone that dies will take around 8, I think it's 12% in total, like respawning plus running back. So if you play safe with the team and you call out, let's play safe, or let's use ult combos, etc., or if you see a brig, like tell them that you're delaying brig or distracting brig, and they can fight, they can all in, and they can destroy bongos, etc., you'll win the point for free. So you reload and you start spamming. You want to use your whole clip here, and you don't have to walk forward either, because if you walk forward, you're gonna be headshot by the Orisa, and you can just sit on this distance, be safe, and if someone walks forward, you just hook them, turn around. So you reload with 3 shots here, and the shield is almost dead. If you keep shooting, your teammates on point can help you. You almost get pulled into the pit here as well, because Thank you so much, free aim vibes. Thank you so much for the support. So yeah, you almost get pulled into the pit here because you're walking too far forward, and you can stay safe from the position you had before. Thank you so much for the support. Zarya is totally fine on village. With Winston, Diva would be better because as Zarya you can't go as far in as Winston, and your bubbles are not going to be as efficient because one of you are going to be super far in, and you're going to have to use the bubble for Winston when he engages, rather than to save. So like you can't save your bubble to protect someone. It's gonna be like it when they fall back. And if the enemies now say in team chat, okay, Zarya no friendly, Zarya no personal, that means you have used your friendly bubble and you have used your personal bubble. All they have to do is just all in on you. They deal with the Mei, deal with the Zarya, and then take point, and that's it. They have a ton more HP here, and you're super squishy as Zarya when you've used your bubbles. You don't really have any escape either. Hi Silkas, how are you doing? Have you how's your rank been? Like only played against you once yesterday, but it was pretty fun. Good job pushing in. A ton of energy, and yeah, now you just get grab and keep snowballing them. So good bait you did, totally fine, but in higher ranks it will be pretty obvious that it's a bait when the enemy can press tab and they see a Mei and they see you really far forward, really out of position. It's very easy to spot it out. So keep that in mind so that you don't stay in one location that for that long, because all they have to do is just walk in together, or just go main. You'll get through, Silkies. Here's a perfect moment to use Grav, and you want to talk with the Moira because she has ult, and you can combine Grav plus ult. And right here is a free man Grav, and you don't need more than 2 or 3 high value kills. And then after you've gotten the high value kills, you've just won the fight. And you also want to call no more ults, because it stops the enemy from... or it stops your team from just wasting ults. It's really common in ranked. You can, since Winston uses his bubble, obviously you can't know that he's gonna pop his bubble, but pretty much 99% of all Winstons in ranked uses their bubble when they've landed. So you can wait with your own bubble, because his bubble is gonna soak a lot of the projectiles coming in, and he's moving inside, moving outside. You know, he's not on the same page because you're not telling him that you're gonna bubble him. So you get more energy if you just save your bubble, or more guaranteed energy. Don't worry about the Hanzo behind you, because you have your own bubble, you can line of sight him, and you want to focus on the front line here, because Hanzo is not gonna kill everyone. And here's why. You know, you got distracted by Hanzo and you ended up staying in one position and you forgot about what's happening. And you're not tracking the ult for the enemy Zarya. You, as the Zarya, you know, since you're playing the Zarya, you can estimate how much damage the enemy Zarya has done. And since you know she's been on low energy all the time, she's not gonna have grav earlier than you, and you just tell your team to spread out, be aware of the grav, save beat or whatever for the grav. And here, since oh, actually, never mind. It's totally fine. So unless you're gonna die on point, there's no use to backing right now, because you're gonna die. It's 100% guaranteed you're gonna die. So just go on point, die quicker. You know, you spread out the ult charge you give. Right now you're giving Soldier and Zarya the most. All you have to do now is get your grav, combine it with Moira, and then cap point. Also tell your team that you're gonna farm energy, because Moira dies here because she expects you to push out, and then you move away and she gets a Hanzo arrow in her head. It's also really inefficient here to bubble the Winston when he uses his own bubble, and I guess it's because you're focusing on getting energy, so you forget that he might pop his own bubble to stop the spam, and it's all because of no communication right there, I think. If you rotate main and you speed main, you just have an easy cap going. Right now you're forcing it a bit too much on high ground. Just reset at this point. Like you see, you haven't had one fight since they capped, like on point. Instead, you've been sitting in the choke and it's 50% now. And that's enough time to have two fights on point. If you just go main, or if you just talk with the team and push in. Yo fandoms, how are you doing? Oh, you tried to bubble, but sometimes you miss. It's alright. You want to think of your ammo before you graviton, because you essentially use up half of the graviton to reload right now, and you want to keep right clicking, melee as well. Right click melee, right click melee. You're walking into the dragon. Also keep in mind you have no shields right now, and you also went... I should have taken this before when you run back. So here in spawn, you see that you have no ult charge. Your monkey switched to Winston, to Roadhog, I mean. So why not go, I don't know, Reinhardt or something? Because you're not gonna get charge. It's gonna be really hard for you to push in. It's only one more fight. So like, here you should make the switch, because I don't think the Roadhog will switch unless you talk with the Roadhogs to switch back, etc. But it's gonna be... It's gonna be like you're trying to run uphill with extra weight on you, like if you have a backpack filled with rocks. And you know, even if you don't play Reinhardt, etc., it's a higher chance for your team to win. It's kind of unfortunate that the Roadhog switches. Like, if the Roadhog would have stayed on Winston or gone Reinhardt himself, then you would have done a lot better. Be careful with how early you use your bubbles and how long you stay against the Roadhog there, because you ended up having trouble to think about the dragon and think about the shots at the same time. Again, you use the bubble when he's inside of his own bubble, so try to avoid that and wait for his bubble to go down, because it doesn't look like he's pushing up, you know? So when you get tanks that don't push up and basically make your bubbles wasted, you just adapt to it and wait for them to be in a fight. And you soak enemy damage with your own bubbles so that you get some energy at least. What's the reason for bubbling someone behind the pillar here? Because they're not gonna get shot. This... Okay, so... I can't draw it out, but they are in a safe zone here, basically. It's like this pocket of... No one will be able to damage them right here. And you're using a bubble for nothing. While you can use it... just walk around, wait a bit, and then you can use it. So, if you would have waited, your Reaper wouldn't be dead right now. Or have to use his Ray form. Against Brig, Ryan, and Zarya, you're not gonna win the sustain fight if you're using your bubbles super early. You have to use them defensively. It's different from using it, from playing with a Reinhardt, because with Reinhardt you can use them to get energy, because he has a lot of HP and his own shield. You want to be careful when you walk up alone like this, because if you're in the front line and there's a Brig using third person view right here, she's gonna go and stun you, or you're gonna be forced to use your own bubble. They can rush you, or she stuns you and they rush you and you die. So in both cases you're an easy kill when you walk alone. And you have to call to break the choke, and you want to use the shield to break in For example, if Winston jumps in. He's dead though, so obviously you can't revive him. Soldier is free farming as long as you're not breaking the choke. And you have a Lucio as well, so just call the Lucio to speed in and go a different route. You don't have to go main, you don't have to go to the left, you can go high ground. And then you have an easy point to charge. What were you gonna combo here with the Grav? Let's see if you press tab. Okay, so you press tab. Moira has 0. Brian has 0. There's a soldier here as well, but the only combos you can really do is Grav plus High Noon or Grav plus Moira. And if you want to Grav alone, you gotta have 80% energy and right click everyone. You just use the Grav without really planning for it. You're not talking about the Grav, and there's no one that can follow up. So it's just it's like a massive Junkrat trap. They can just not move, and that's it. And you can solve all these things if you just talk more with the team. And you notice here, again, when you use your Grav, you have 2 shots left. So you end up using a lot of time to just reload. And now, now the blame game starts because there's not enough communication in the team, and once it's close to the loss, this is natural. Like it's really normal, and you could have just called simple plays, and you can also say, Ryan, I'm bubbling you. Winston, can you go Ryan so I can bubble you? All these things, or you can go Diva even, and you can do a lot more work if you have a Winston. And there's not much synergy unless, like, you have to think, when you're playing Zarya, you have to think about the synergy with the ults as well. And let's say that you don't have the McCree and you don't have the Moira. You have to switch off the Zarya or do some crazy plays with Zarya. And it's really, really inefficient way of climbing in ranked to go for the crazy plays, because 80% of the time you're not gonna get them when you're playing against equally skilled opponents. So yeah, a few things you can focus on, as I mentioned: communication, talk more about your bubbles, consider switching to Diva when Zarya simply is not working, because you're just agonizing yourself if you play Zarya without the right tools to make Zarya work. And that might end up in frustration with the game, and end up with frustration with ranked and so on, and it hinders your climbing. You did fine on Roadhog when you flanked early on. I mean, when you started going super deep, that's when you... I'm not sure why you go super deep. Maybe it's because Maybe it's because you overvalue your HP or your ability to do plays or get kills, etc. Also, you can't really punish enemies when you're in the middle of them in their choke or spawn, essentially. So position yourself more passive with Roadhog, you want to wait. With Roadhog, you want to wait for the enemies to make the mistakes before you make them, or before you just outplay them, because you have the hook, and hook is a really strong ability. With Zarya, you can use your bubbles to save your teammates, but also to make proactive plays. For example, telling your Winston that you're gonna bubble him, so he doesn't have to use his own bubble, or simply wait with your bubble until his bubble is gone. So yeah, next.